bit of what we shared before. Okay, and I want to begin with this scripture in Proverbs 20, verse 5, which says, "The purposes of a man's heart are deep water, but one who has insight draws them out." Okay, so what does this mean? This itself is a pretty deep scripture. Okay, and to me, what it says here is that sometimes our own purpose are not as obvious. You know, what drives us are not obvious. That's why today experts call them, unconscious bias. That means we're not even conscious of our biases. We're not even conscious of our own preferences. Many times we're not even conscious of our own behavior. Why we do what we do? Why do we have certain triggers? Why do we, have certain fears? And what the Bible says here is that the purposes, okay, of why we do what we do, and can be in deep waters, right? It's not easily apparent in the conscious mind. So what this means is that we need to spend time to reflect, get help from people, and draw things out of each other. Okay? And insights make a difference. If we can understand or gain insight, our self-awareness will grow. It will make all the difference. Now, I want to now build on and go to the next phase, and that is to teach you how to weaken your schemas. Teach you how to weaken them. Now, remember, when you go out and you're helping people, and let's say they filled it out, please do not put forward yourself as a schema therapist. Okay, that's not who you are. But you can say you obtained some training in the principles of schema therapy, and you can provide some kind of a guidance. Okay, all right. So the first thing I want to say is this: every negative schema is theorized to be a result of an unmet need. Conversely, every positive schema is theorized to have developed because a need was met. Now, this is the main slide that I'm going to refer to for the whole of this session. This has my entire parenting and even counseling model summarized in one page. Okay, in one page. So it looks kind of complicated, all right? But let me walk you through. And it's good to have everything on one page. So right at the top, since you have the parent-child interactions. Why is that important? Because parents are the ones that primarily cause the core emotional needs to be met. Not what I want you to see is this last column here. All right? The positive schemas and the negative schemas box. And in particular, I'm focusing on the negative schemas. And remember, every negative schema is an unmet need. So what does that mean? So if you look at here, there are 80 negative schemas. And that means, church, every schema here do I mean? Most, it's something that people know they have. That's why this schema falls under, very commonly for a lot of people as an unconscious, you know, they're not conscious and they have an unconscious bias about themselves and others. Now, this schema, I put a one sentence in black there to capture the essence of the meaning of that schema. So defectiveness or shame means what? I am inherently flawed. All right. So what is therefore the unmet need? All right. So I'm going to go through the main point of each schema and the unmet need associated with that schema. Because, like I said earlier, every negative schema is an unmet need. Everybody okay with that? So, how do you help people using the schema therapy model? And like I said, you can use other models. This is not, the only model, but it is to me one. I could not find a better model in the world than this. So let's talk about defective. Or in its brain, that means you have this thought to the effect, I am inherently flawed, that is driving your behavior. So, what is the unmet need that has caused this schema to develop? The schema says, I am inherently flawed. So, what is the unmet need? The unmet need is this. When I was flawed or when I had shortcomings, I was made to feel that there was something wrong with me. So my need of being accepted for who I am was not there. Are you with me, everybody? Okay, so let me give you example. I will walk you through, and then I'm going to give you homework. Okay, everybody? All right. So let me give you an example. In Asia, if you are born as a girl, that is usually not viewed favorably by many families. When a girl am thought for being a girl, I'm not accepted. So what happens over time? This grows. You see that? So the girl will grow up not having this need of unconditional acceptance, that I am accepted by my parents for who I am, flaws and all. Even if I'm a boy and they accept me, but I may have shortcomings. But the need that we all need, because we're not perfect, is to be accepted by our parents for who we are, flaws and all. So if parents desired a girl, they got a boy, there is a big chance that the girl will grow up feeling flawed by virtue of the fact that she was a female. Or sometimes you're born, but certain characteristics are picked by parents as being undesirable. Let's say you're kind of quiet, you don't say very much. That trait is picked on. You see that? And you grow up feeling flawed because of that. Maybe you're too short. Maybe you're awkwardly tall, too skinny, too overweight. or you're not capable academically compared to your peers. So you may feel all this, but the important thing is this: are you in an environment where you are accepted and loved in spite of those shortcomings? That is a need we all have. But if you grow up in an environment where you are not schema. So this schema develop because of your genetics. You do family therapy. Right. Can you still hear me? I felt like there was an interruption. All right. Okay. So where was I? Is what I try. And that is to find what was this person's unmet need that is causing them to behave the way they do that is harmful, either to themselves or to other people. What is the unmet need? Because the premise, all right, the tenet of this theory is that if your needs are not met, you're going to be problematic. It will lead to behavioral problems. Okay, so unmet need growing up, let me summarize. Causes schemas to develop. When negative schemas develop, they lead you, they are associated with behavioral problems. It will lead you to behave in a way so as to cause harm, either to yourself or others. So let's summarize again. Defectiveness. What's the core message? I am inherently flawed. What's the unmet need? I was not accepted with my flaw. Okay, is everybody clear about that? Can I have a raise of hand? Okay, all right, excellent. Now, let's do the next one. And I would like to have participation, if possible. Okay, and I know I'm here, you guys are there. And if you speak loudly, I may not hear, but let's try. Let's try. Okay, everybody okay? Uh, so Jessica, will they be able to speak up and for me to hear, or is that too much of a expectation?
No, I will, but I'll have to switch the audio. So when
Okay.
you speak, just pause, and then I'm going to switch the audio and they'll speak, and then I'll switch for you to respond.
Let's try. Just won't be able to hear. I can't, then that's okay. All right. Now let's look at the next schema, mistrust abuse. Okay. This schema says what? It says others do not have my best interest in mind. In other words, this schema says I don't trust people because you don't care about me. You care about something else. You want to use me. You want something I have. You don't care about me. Everybody okay with that? That's the message. All right, now you tell me what was the unmet need that caused this message or this schema to develop. Just try. What is the unmet need? Just like we did with defectiveness. The unmet need there was my flaws was not accepted. See that? My shortcomings was not viewed as cute. I was criticized for it. So I grew up feeling flawed. Now, with mistrust, would anyone like to have a go? What was the unmet need? We know the message is, I don't believe others have my best interests in mind. But what is the unmet need? Just take a guess. Anybody?
I'm going to switch your audio. Could you hear? He said not feeling safe,
Not feeling
not
safe,
loved.
not love. That's too general.
Not being
That is a little bit too
trustworthy.
general, but you're
Oh.
on the right
Not being
direction.
trustworthy.
Keep on.
Not loved, not feeling.
Oh. Parents, the people whom I thought I could count on, like my parents, proved to not be trustworthy. That means I thought my parents were people I could trust, but actually they were the ones that abused me, whether it's verbally, emotionally, or physically. So that was the unmet need. You see, all of us are born, when we're born, we fell into the hands of our parents. And we grow up believing they will be there. And when we're scared, we run to them. When we're lonely, we run to them. When we want to play, we run to them. But what if in the course of you going to them, they reject you? When you're scared, they reject you. They instead they turn it around and say, you're a sissy. You need to man up. You need to develop courage. You see that? So they turn it around. And then you grow up feeling, I can't even trust in my parents to be there for me when I was experiencing pain or fear. Instead, they turned it around and what? Abused me. So to summarize it, people whom I thought I could rely on were not there for me emotionally, physically, okay? And they were just not there. So I grew up not being able to trust my parents. So guess what happens? If you can't trust your parents, who can you trust? You can't trust people easily. So as an adult, because you grew, when you went to your parent, they turned it around and made you feel like it's your fault. You couldn't trust your parent. And then now, as a adult, you can't trust anybody. You can't trust your small group leader. And in the context of a church, you don't even trust church leaders. You feel like they have a hidden agenda. And if they say, no, I'm doing it because I really care for you, you don't believe it. You still believe, no, you've got a hidden agenda. And it's not for my best interest. So people with mistrust and abuse, they just don't trust. They feel someone has another agenda. Why? Unmet need. Growing up, the parents were not there. The parents were not there. Okay? When they were fearful, the parents turned it around and made them feel like it's their fault. And sometimes parents even train them to be tough in the name of being tough, but it's actually abusive. The parents train them to not depend on them when they're young, with the hope that when they grow up, they'll be tough. That is completely counterproductive. Human beings operate the other way around. In order to be tough and resilient as an adult, you need to be nurtured when you're young, not deprived of. And many people, their philosophy, they got it backwards and it has completely ruined the individual. So they grow up with mistrust abuse. Some parents, they physically beat them, spank them in the name of spanking, beat, abuse, yell, shout over and over and over and over again, even when it's not their fault. So they experience a lot of abuse themselves. Now, mistrust abuse is also interesting. Even if you're not personally abused, but you witness it, that's enough for you to develop mistrust abuse. So those who grew up witnessing a lot of abuse, you're at risk in developing this schema. So what's the unmet need? People whom I thought I could count on to feel safe, to protect me, they were not there. Or they abused me instead. So you can summarize it this way. People whom I thought I could rely on to be nurtured abused me instead. That is specific. You see that? Don't say I was not loved. No, you got to get specific because each schema is a specific unmet need. Okay. Now, once you grasp it, and then you can tell what schemas people have, here's why it's important. Then you will know what was the unmet need. And then your sessions, as Paul calls on us to instruct or counsel one another competently, you go straight into needs. And I can tell you, I have learned many different modalities of therapy. Efficient ones are the one centered that show you how to help each other. So church, what was the unmet need? Emotional depth and cared for. That's the message. That's what your brain tells you now. I'm not loved, I'm not cared for. But why did you develop that at a heightened level? Because of an unmet need of what? Right. Have a go. Tell me what was the likely unmet need that would give rise to the negative schema of emotional deprivation.
Parents were too busy.
Parents were too busy.
Parents were what?
Emotionally void.
Parents were emotionally void.
Yes. Yes. Very good. Okay. I would say this, the
What was
need.
it? Parents are what?
Unavailable, emotionally void, or not there.
Parents were unavailable.
Very good. Okay. But that is a little bit too
Hold
general.
on, let me switch you back over.
That
Okay,
is a
next.
little bit too general, but you're getting in the right direction. Well done, Judge.
Parents did not express
Keep going.
affection. They did not show affection.
Excellent. Excellent.
Oh, they criticized the child.
All right. I would not put criticism here. Criticism is more under defectiveness. See that? You're criticized for something that was perceived to be wrong in you. All right. Emotional deprivation is this. You're all getting there. It's this. I did not have my need to be connected emotionally to my parents by way of empathy, warmth, affection. Specific who grew up with a mom or a dad or both that did not connect them. Do you see how different this is from defectiveness? Defectiveness, criticism of your shortcoming. This one, you're just not connected emotionally, such as warmth, holding, affection. Now, what if one of your parents were like this and the other one weren't? Guess what? You are still very likely to develop this. You cannot rest on your laurels. And it's okay for me to be weak this way. No, all parents must at least be good enough. That's why I call my parenting program Good Enough Parenting. Got to be good enough in being able to convey enough, sufficient, adequate, holding, affection, nurturing. There is a minimum threshold all mothers and fathers need to have. And if you do not convey that, what will happen? They'll grow up feeling, they'll have this craving. I just need to be close to people. I need to be close to people. So in the church, they are not happy. What they're looking for is just extra. Even though there are people that love them, they want more of that. Why? Because they were deprived of it. Others in my church may feel, I feel sufficient love, or there is enough love in the church, but they themselves don't. They have this heightened need. They crave more. The reason why they crave was because they were deprived of it growing up. They want more intimacy. They want more conversations with people, more than the average individual. And that's fine if you want that. Okay? But be humble enough to express and be aware and then set it up so that this need can be met. So the good thing is this, even though these needs were not met growing up, if you can gain awareness and arrange so that people in the church meet each other's need that way, you will get better. And I got to tell you this, the church is the answer to all unmet needs and schemas. Let me say this again. The church, God's model, is the answer under one condition, that the church is healthy. Healthy means they are close. Every small group, they are close to each other. They love each other. They know each other's highs and lows, which was what I got you all to do before. Remember that? Share each other's traumatic experiences. They know, they care, they visit each other. They spend time without an agenda. They send a text without an agenda. There is love to that level. What you will like you're lacking something. Okay, Hello, everybody?
We're here. We can hear you.
Okay. All right, let's do one more. It's called social isolation stroke alienation. The message is this: I don't fit in. I don't fit in the group. I may look like them. I don't fit in. You may be a black person with black friends. But guess what? Even with people of the same color, you don't fit in. You may be white and you may have white friends, Caucasian friends. So even though you have friends of the same color, you still don't feel like you fit in. You see that? You just feel like you don't fit in. Okay, everybody, tell me what was the unmet need that would give rise to the development of the negative schema of social isolation. What was the likely unmet need? Anybody? Go for it.
Can you hear them?
To general, just not to specific, like I was just now. There was the unmet.
What about
When parents have a not.
That's favoritism or okay. Did we lose each other, guys?
Yes, but we're back.
Okay, I'm sorry. I sensed that there was no there was an emotional deprivation momentarily. Okay. Okay. So now social isolation. What was the unmet need, everybody? Growing up, I felt I wasn't in the inside. And so I met up with him, spent several times. After about 2 sessions, I got into his life. I said to him, tell me, what was the atmosphere like in your home when you would have dinner? You see how specific I asked? Or how would the atmosphere in your home be after school? Or bedtime? Or when you're just hanging out in the house? So we started with, I was I had two older siblings, and they both dominated all the conversations during dinner. And I felt like it didn't matter if I was even there. I never had a chance to speak. These two and my mom and dad always talked. So I felt I was an outsider looking in. And even if I didn't show up, it didn't matter. So I didn't fit in. But guess what, everybody? When I saw a family picture of him and his two siblings and his mom and dad, it was like a model family. The boys were all tall, handsome, all over 6 foot. Okay. Really strikingly good looking.
And I can't tell that one did not fit in with the rest. But emotionally, he felt that way because he was the youngest, because he was not pulled in. Okay, another example of this. All siblings would do well in a specific area, let's say science and math, but this person did not make the cut. So they feel they didn't fit in. So it's very similar to defectiveness, but there is a difference. Difference enough to warrant a separate schema. I see this a lot in church. Brothers, sisters who do not like their small groups. They don't. And then I say, all right, let's go to this small group. No, I don't like that. Let's go to this small group. No matter which small group I give them, they don't feel like they fit in. So the problem is not really with the church. This is yes. Absolutely. Has that happened in the ICOC? Yes. Have new schemas been caused by our unhealthy culture? Yes. But it's not so common. Most of the times, our schemas are developed before, while we were growing up, because we spent so many of our formative years there. But then when we come to the church, if the culture is not healthy, it gets triggered. But because people don't connect the dots with their childhood, they think it all began at church. You owe it to yourself to explore the past, to make peace with the past, to gain sufficient and adequate understanding of what needs were not met in your life. Hello?
We're here. We can hear you.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, so that is sort of my schema says, I do not express my emotions. So what was the unmet need growing up? Anybody?
Lack of connection.
Lack of connection.
Too general, that falls more under emotional deprivation, but you're in the right direction. Now we're talking about emotional inhibition. See, the message is
No room to feel
No
feelings.
room to communicate.
No room to communicate.
okay, that's in the right direction, but get a bit more specific.
Parents do not ask how you feel.
Very good. I like that. That's very specific. So I would say this. Growing up, really not allowed. Okay, so when you grew up and you were not encouraged to express feelings, remember that is a need. It is absolutely a need. If you don't express your feelings, let me tell you, you're going to get messed up. So that need was deprived. And as a result, they became emotionally inhibited. I see a lot of this in church where people, when the minute we talk about, let's talk about our feelings, they don't like the church. They don't like it. They're like, why we have to do this? We just need the Bible. You see that? And they use a spiritual reason to actually, be defensive about their unmet need. So they feel very uncomfortable talking about their feelings. A lot of married couples are in this situation. Growing up, men were not allowed to talk about their feelings. Why? because it was not seen as a masculine thing. Expressing your feelings was labeled as a feminine thing, a feminine trait. So pessimism. The
Maybe the parents overshare.
what's that?
Parents oversharing their challenges.
Parents oversharing their challenges.
Overshare.
Parents.
Yeah, not quite, but you're getting there. Negativity. See, the message is, I think things will end badly. That's the message. So, what was the unmet need that caused this message to grow and be strong in the person?
What was it?
My parents did not protect me.
My parents did not protect me.
No, that is again more under mistrust abuse. Okay. Right. Negativity, pessimism.
My parents were irresponsible. With
Okay. Right. So let me help out here. Negativity, pessimism is this. My need to be optimistic about the future was never met. You see that? So growing up, whenever the kids would throw out a possibility, I want to play outside. The mother will say, nope, it's going to rain. Nope, you can't. There's too much this, there's too much that. There's always a reason why you can't do something fun. In other words, the glass was always half empty. So the parents were very gloomy about every option a child wanted to take or explore. I want to, play this. Nope, you'll get hurt. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do this. So the parents are very controlling. But actually, behind that over controlling nature is fear that things will go badly. They will get hurt. That is the driving force. So overprotectiveness. So they grow up feeling what? Nothing is going to be okay. If I go to university, I'm going to fail. If I have a bit of an illnesses, they exaggerate and think they have cancer. If they have a headache, they strongly believe they have tumor.
Right.
They're just not very positive at all. I gave a marriage counseling once to a couple, and the husband was just so fed up with the wife. I mean, he blew up at her in front of me. And I asked him, tell me, what are your sources of frustration? And he said, I can't do anything. If I want to take my kids out for a picnic, my wife will say no. She will look at the clouds, at that time we lived in Singapore, she looked at the clouds in a tropical climate. Oh, you know what? It's getting dark. It's going to rain. And he just said, it is so boring. I can't do anything. There's always a reason why we can't do this. Now, she was saying, I'm just trying to be thorough. I'm just trying to prepare all of you for the worst. So I asked him to give me examples. Then I got the sense she is a negative individual. I got into her childhood. Guess what? Mother almost always told her not to try anything. If you do, you will fail. So she developed the schema of negativity, and it showed up in the questionnaire. Can you see that? And so It has now become full blown, the schema. It has interfered in the marriage. And it's sad. They almost got separated. Schemas will do you harm if they are extremely active, rigid, because they make you see only in a very narrow way, only through the lens of their schemas. And they are highly inflexible and extremely rigid. And I can tell people who are schema driven because they don't like to uh, explore other options. They're like, it's my way or the highway. That's it. I want it this way. This is how I see it. They don't look at the overall well being of the church or their group. So I can tell, well, they have a, a heightened need for something that was not met growing up. So the job is to help them identify this unmet need. But the problem is this: a lot of people in the church are not open to that option. They don't want to. And there's nothing I can do. You can only get better if someone is allowed to go with you and walk. Okay? Go to the past, find out what happened, find out the themes that you accumulated in your head about yourself and others. And I promise you, if you do that and allow one another to get, you will get world schematizing. Or do not be schematized by the world, but rather be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That is very good news because that means God expects us to renew our mind, which means we can renew our mind. That is good news. And then later on in Romans 12, guess what it did? It talked about the church culture. Okay, I'll revisit that scripture and relate it to the church in one of our next sessions. But I'm telling you right now, a healthy church where people are close to each other, that is the key. That's why God wants us to meet for church regularly. He knows while we are saved, we are not healed. At baptism, you're saved. You stay faithful, you're saved, but you're not necessarily healed. So God created the model of the church, provided we love each other. If you love each other and allow each other to come into your lives, bring out your dirty laundry. Shameful as it may be, just bring it out and talk about your life and allow people to come in. You will get better. So today we have covered defectiveness, mistrust, abuse, emotional deprivation, social isolation, emotional inhibition, negativity, failure. We have covered almost all of the first domain. Why did I pick this? Because 80%, 70 to 80% of all people's problems are a result of the first 5 to 6 schemas. First 5 to 6. 70 to 80%. Individual's problem and also marriage. Now let me talk about one of the common themes I have been able to identify among you, Waypoint. And that is this message: I am not good enough. Many of you struggle with that. And it's not just common in Waypoint, but I'm saying everywhere else. But in Waypoint, this is what I picked up. I am not good enough. That is from where? The schema of defectiveness and shame. I'm inherently flawed. You don't feel like you're good enough for God. You're not good enough even for one another. So you don't feel settled. And you're constantly trying to prove yourself. Sometimes you do that by arguing with people because you want to prove that you're clever. Sometimes you you get into a rigid thinking because it's all about you trying to meet your own need. Now it's all well and good trying to meet that need, but take into account of the need of others. Work as a family. Okay. Now, how does this all tie in terms of your training? So when you find an individual that you can tell, he has this thing in his head, I'm not good enough, or I don't try it, or I don't like to talk about feeling, or the church is not going to change. They're always negative. First thing you do, get a hunch on which schemas they have. Now you don't have to lecture them and say, hey, I've been trained. Just do it informally. I think I get the sense that you have this thinking that's dominating in your head. Let's talk about what needs were not met that gave rise to that thinking. Notice how I said it. I didn't even use the word schema. Some people don't like it. They're like, it's too psychology, whatever. Okay, fine. I'll use simpler words. I don't have to use the word schema. So let's talk about the unmet need you experienced growing up that gave rise to this thinking. And this thinking is causing harm. Let's talk about your life. Tell me your highs and lows. Just listening, putting in the time to care for each other, listening, that itself will do them a lot of good. So when you find someone, okay, and you can tell they need to get better, and we all need to get better, find out what is their dominant schemas. How do you do that? You can give them the scale. Okay. Now remember, if they're outside the waypoint church, they need to get permission. So don't make a copy and give it to them. Tell them, hey, get in touch with me or someone. And then once they fill it up, you can see. But sometimes even the questionnaire will not pick it up because they don't have the awareness to even answer accurately. Not that they're lying, but they're just not conscious. Then you do it qualitatively. So quantitatively is you do it by filling out surveys. You can also do it qualitatively. How do you do it? But just listening to them, you can get the sense. Maybe they just don't trust anybody. Or maybe they just feel horrible about themselves. They're so defective that they feel defective before God. See that? You can ask questions and get a hunch. Sometimes they have all 5 schemas. Somebody with borderline personality disorder will have all 18. And now that takes a schema therapist to really help them. Okay. So don't try and attempt that yourself. But informally, we can get a hunch of what we have. And the first thing you need to do is find out the unmet need. Approach helping each other by identifying the unmet need. Unmet need comes from identifying the negative schema. Okay, any questions? Okay, I will send you this slide. Okay, Brian, hello. I will send you this slide and also last week's. Did you get last week's slides?
Yes.
That's John a question.
Yes, we
Yes.
did.
No. Okay, so I already sent you last week. I'm going to send you this week's. This week's is primarily this. Now, remember, these are copyrighted material. This is like one of my latest thing that I developed. Please don't put it in the website and send it all over Kingdom Come. Okay, this is just for Waypoint. But it's a fantastic 1-page reference of unmet needs, the message of the schemas, and leading up to parenting. Okay. But for you guys, what I'm focusing right now is just the negative schema. All right. You have any question?
So, John, I wanted to ask, doesn't this put a lot of pressure on parents? And then now we're blaming our parents for all the issues that we have?
Okay, that's a great question. Okay. Don't blame your parents. Okay. Don't blame your parents because here's what I developed positive scheme. It was hugely imbalanced because a lot of patients left feeling like, you know what, I'm going to bash my parents. So they went into a parent bashing campaign. And that is not okay. But so to balance that, I invented the positive schema questionnaire. Now the positive schema questionnaire is mine. The negative one belongs to Dr. Jeffrey Young. The positive is mine. Then I show them, well, look what your parents did to you that was positive. And so the case is this, we will receive a package from our parents. Some good, some not so good. Some parents are very dysfunctional, so we have more bad than good. Some is the other way around. But no matter who, I tell them right now, yes, your parents, I agree, they did not meet these needs that gave rise to, those specific needs that gave rise to those negative schemas. But you are now an adult. You now need to be responsible and you can overcome it. And if you're a disciple, I say, dive into a healthy church culture. Make sure the church culture is healthy. And I say this to wait. Don't think all still on the parent because of the power of God. I believe in the power of the church. Coming to church, you just don't miss it. Of course, you go out of town, I get that, but don't make it a habit to miss. The more you miss, the less need will be met to make up for the years of our but this is the condition. The church is healthy churches, where they are very numbers oriented. They don't care about getting involved in each other's lives. They don't spend the time listening, being patient. And they don't speak the truth to each other, where they challenge each other. I do challenge members. I've challenged many of you. If I sense that you're resistant, I will say the truth. And I want to encourage you to listen and be open. Karen and I only want what is best for you. Please be open. Allow us into your lives. Allow others. Love one another. If you flat out don't love one another, you're not going to get better. And there are many churches in the US, they're still not there. Numbers oriented, who knows what, okay? But I go into the church, I don't even feel love as a newcomer. No one really reaches out to me. I don't know. And if I stay there for a week, no one would care. And their members, whether they disappear, no one knows. Everyone is so afraid on intruding into each other. Okay, now that's a whole separate issue. I know I digressed, but bottom line, I tell individuals, take responsibility now. Yes, your parents did not contribute properly. Forgive them. So what's the remedy? Forgiveness. Who mastered that? Jesus. The entire cross hinges on this thing we call forgiveness. Forgive your parents. So, but for positive schemas, be grateful. So forgiveness and gratitude shake hands. So this is how I tell everybody, forgive your parents and be grateful to them. Shake hands. Forgiveness and gratitude must shake hands. Not parent bashing. That's not very Christian-like. We can change, okay? Absolutely, through the power of the church. All right, next question. Okay, all right. Everybody, here's the thing. Can I give you homework? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yes.
Yes.
Great point. Please raise your hand. Say, I will make an attempt to this homework. All right, thank you. I love you all. Please, okay, don't say, well, you're intruding into my private life here. No, I'm not. I'm trying to increase self-awareness. All right, so here's the homework, okay? You have 1 week. I want you to go through schema 7 to 18. I will send this slide today to Brian and Jessica, and they will share it to only members of this church. Okay, this is not for the whole outside. You read the schema message and identify the unmet need. That's all, to the best of your ability. You can do it in an Excel sheet, where you copy and paste all the schemas, and another column, unmet need, in your own words. Everybody okay with that? Why do I want you to do this? Because I am training you to identify what are unmet needs when you sense a schema is emerging. It is the best way to help people. Best way. Meet unmet needs. You cannot meet unmet needs unless you identify the unmet need. You can only identify the unmet need when you identify the negative schema. Everybody got that? Yes, waypoint? Okay, so that's your homework.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that? Now, if you want to work together as a group, that is totally fine. I would love that. Please discuss, hey, let's do this together. And then that would be wonderful. If you want to work together as a husband and wife team, go for it. But please make an attempt to just link schemas with unmet need. I will train you step by step, by step by step. Okay? So after we do this, then I will show you how the needs, some of them can be grouped, okay, into larger chunks. And then we move on. It's not a very complicated model, but it's a state of the art, and it taps into our latest research, and it's beautiful. And it's actually very, very biblical, because we're all messed up by schemas that drives us to sin. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. We must make it our goal to be like Christ as the years go by. Okay? All right. So that's it for my session this time. Okay? I'm right now in Indonesia. I can't tell you how incredible it is to be here. I've taken a video of all of them for the express purpose of showing it to you. All right. I'll do so next week. But honestly, we miss you. We think about you. We pray for you. I had my quiet time today. I prayed for almost all of you. Okay. So you're in my heart. Let's keep going forward. Okay. Any other closing thoughts, Brian, before we break into our small groups?
I'll do some announcements.
He's going to do some announcements.
Okay. All right. So I'll bid goodbye then.
Bye, John.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.